So,
Yeah,
hello, Yasha, and Happy New Year in advance. You've only got a couple of days to go.
thank you, Martin.
And,
We've
and
got we are hoping, we're tempting the family to come and have a light supper with us before they go to their party. So we've got three great big Chinese ducks.
oh my word, how superb! Yes,
They look good and they smell good.
yes,
Uh, but Mia won't let me even taste it, so I can't tell you how they taste yet.
yes. Well, but they're there to tempt you in the meantime.
Yes.
Well, I myself, I'm in the day three of a 4-day fast.
How
So,
are you
so,
doing?
so don't talk to me too much about food at the moment. I'm trying to pretend that food doesn't exist. Yeah,
You
so
look
that's
good
what I'm
today.
doing. I do this 4 times a year as a kind of a clear out health practice, but it's also good
Cleansing,
for the mind as well.
cleansing.
But yes, what I was wanting to talk to you about today, Yasha, is a subject that we never really cover in depth, but we do touch on. I was thinking, well, you and I know each other, and many people watching this know you because of your writing.
Right.
And I thought, well, if I look at your history, military, service and your judo and some of your other sort of pursuits, I think, how did you end up writing books? I know you've got a great interest in collectibles and stamps and playing cards and maps and these kind of things. But how did you become an author? How did you become a public speaker? What led you down this line? And maybe we can look at some of your books, including some of the ones that aren't to do with me. I can see there's quite a few uh, available. If I look on Amazon, um, what was your first book and why was your first book?
Well, it's interesting because I'm just trying to recall the circumstances which led me to write. But my first book was uh, a joint book with a very good friend of mine, Colin Narbers, The Story of Paper Money.
Ah, yes. So I've seen The Story of Paper Money. It's very rare now. You
Ah,
can't really
yes.
get that book.
By David and Charles, which are very well-known publishers of collectible types of items, train spotters and things like that. So,
Yes.
but the circumstances which led me to publish were induced by Colin Narbers, this friend of mine who got me into this collecting world.
Mm.
When I came back to England from Israel after the army and to join my father's business, and I broke away from my father, I was looking to be employed, and I'm sorry, I've got too many things in my head at the moment.
Don't you worry, my dear friend. I know you've got a lot on today, and obviously we haven't talked for a while, so I'm not sure how you've been feeling. In fact, how are you? How are your symptoms? How are you and Parkinson's doing together?
Thanks, Martin.
It's all easy going.
I'm doing quite well. We said that we would do these tapes even if I wasn't feeling well. So I'd like to carry on 1 second.
Yes, I got the impression when we first started talking to her, I thought, hmm, Yasha's going through a hard time at the moment. Um, would that be a good?
Well, I have trouble when two things happen simultaneously.
Hmm.
Whereas all my life I was a multitasker.
Mm.
Literally, I could do. I had a shop in Islington.
I remember that shop, yes.
And that shop was fantastic. And I used to be able to talk on the phone to somebody in Spanish, talk to a customer who came into the shop in Turkish on a different subject, and give directions and so on and so forth. Literally do several things. So to me, to have to put things in line one behind the other before I can actually express them is a noble thing, even within the context of
Yeah.
a good Parkinson's day.
It's a new way of being. Very, very Zen, isn't it? Sort of one thing, then the next, and the next. But it's a completely new way of being for someone like yourself who speaks many languages, can do lots of things at once. And
Yes.
of course, today you've got your guru coming to see you. You've got
Yes. In fact, I think he's just outside. Do you mind if would
not
you
at
mind
all,
if
not at all.
come
It's all
in?
very easy going. You can go in.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Roger.
Hello.
Would you like to join us?
Oh yeah, sure, sure. How are you doing?
I'm doing magnificently, thank you.
This is live. This is live at the moment. So.
Oh, at the moment,
okay.
live. Yeah, very good, no problem.
Very good.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So
I think this was what was keeping me unsettled just now. The fact that I heard Boudica arrive.
Yeah.
understood.
And we were talking in the meantime about other things, and
Yes, but there's a lot, as I said, a lot going on today. You've got the Chinese ducks waiting and family coming.
That's happening tomorrow.
It's tomorrow. Okay, the ducks aren't out yet. Okay, how wonderful. So yes, and so what are your celebrations for New Year normally like then? Is it normally Chinese ducks or is it this year?
For us, it has always been. Are you asking Boudica?
No,
Well,
no.
it's Boudica. Tell me your celebrations.
Oh, this New Year I won't doing much. Actually, normally I go to watch these fireworks in New Year Eve. This year I won't be going anywhere because last time when I went there, I had a terrible day because it was so cold and I stuck in the middle of the bridge, and it's not worth it actually going to see the fireworks.
Are there any Sri Lankan traditions that we should know about?
New Year. Actually, we in Sri Lanka we have a separate New Year in April. It's called Sinhalese and Hindu New Year. So that's the real New Year. But we do celebrate January 1st. And in Sri Lanka, we don't have like 1st of January holidays. Everyone goes to work. So it will be like working day probably.
Understood. Yes.
Yeah.
Same as in Israel.
Oh yeah.
In Israel, it's very strange New Year's because the country doesn't celebrate it. It's not an official holiday, but everybody, of course, goes out and has parties, and they don't miss each other. So, although it's everybody's reminded of it, nobody seems to be talking about it. All the shops are open, all the businesses are going as normal.
So
Shall we get back to our? So Boudica is basically otherwise as a listener here.
yes, but you can be a commentator, Boudica. We were just asking Yasha about his literary pursuits. You're probably aware he's a well-known author, and
Yes.
many people who watch these videos, they know him from his books.
Yeah.
Now, I suspect there aren't many people who know him from his books on collecting paper money, but there may be some who are interested in that as well. I always thought it was an intriguing thing, Yasha, collecting money. And this isn't collecting money as in hoarding it like a dragon. This is as in you're interested in the detail of the money, in the rare banknotes, in the mistakes, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that coin collecting, which is currency as well. I mean, we now say currency collector because most people that collect banknotes going here touch on coins, and certainly coin collectors touch on banknotes. But most coin collectors are surprised that banknotes have not become of greater interest much sooner. It's really relatively modern times. And considering that from the surface of a banknote, there is so much more information than there is on a coin, for example, that the whole matter has not come into prominence much earlier on. But now there are hundreds of societies. Every country has got its own banknote society. Right? There are thousands of collectors, every conceivable subject you can imagine on banknotes.
Yes, and it seems that your expertise, or at least the line of your writing would suggest, is in print. So you also wrote about maps as well, didn't you? You did a reference
Yes.
guide.
Well, I had the privilege of being the founder of the International Map Collector Society.
Oh, how superb.
Which is wonderful. It celebrated its 25th anniversary a few weeks ago.
And playing cards, you didn't write anything on playing cards, did you? But you, of course, you were a member of, and indeed, weren't you the master at one point of the
International Playing Card Society? There are several different areas of playing cards. One is the collecting of playing cards, and the International Playing Card Society, which is a collector society organization, and a completely different body called the Worshipful Company of Makers of Playing Cards, which is one of the city livery companies of the City of London, a secular society organization that was founded. The Playing Card Society was founded in 1625. It is a basis of which the Freemasons, they set themselves up, but there is no connection between the Freemasons and the Playing Card Society. But there is a connection between the Freemasons and the Stonemasons Company, which is a livery company.
Well, Kitty is joining the stationers.
Excellent. Stationers is a very, very highly respected one.
Oh, yes. It's going to be wonderful for her because she's got an interest in all the traditional printing methods. She's actually gone and trained in all the printing methods, and she's learning all the binding. I think it's going to be wonderful. But when did you first start writing books on Freemasonry and indeed speech making? And because what's quite intriguing about you as an author, and I'm talking as both a reader and a publisher here, is you wrote academic works on Masonic history, but you also wrote more light-hearted texts for guidance in making speeches. So a bit like you were talking about the multitasking. One minute you're having to justify everything with references historically and search things out and quote Newton Jones and give British Library numbers for things, and the next minute you're talking about how to make someone laugh or how to recover from a bad joke. Actually, I don't think you've ever had to do that, but you've got these different disciplines. What was the first? Which came first?
Well, I realized that I was very curious, but I was not heavily academic. That my curiosity, once I satisfied it with knowledge, was sufficient for me to get onto something else. I wasn't one of these. I didn't feel an academic inclination. I qualified from university. I have a degree, a law degree from the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And that satisfied my academic urges, so to speak. So when I started writing, there was a certain responsibility in what I was writing and how I was writing it. And I found the talent of speaking and being able to write well is really a potluck exercise. You're either blessed with it or it's very difficult to learn to write well. It's a matter of having access to vocabulary in your mind, but it's not a matter of knowledge of the words, it's the use of the words, if you see what I mean.
Yes. Now, this is an interesting subject because obviously writing well and speaking well are interrelated disciplines,
Very much so.
but they also have a different skill set in the sense that for me, speaking well is obviously a very in the moment. Writing well involves a lot of stamina, a lot of going back over things, trying to see what you've already written for what it really is, not for what you think you've written, and being edited. That's quite an interesting and tough thing as well. One of the things I think is very lost is the association between ability to think and ability to speak. So words are our thoughts made manifest. So it used to be rhetoric was a self-development thing. If you learnt to speak, you're learning how to change your inner voice, maybe even change how you speak to yourself and how you think about things. So it's a little bit lost now. We don't quite have that association. But I do notice in your books, it is there in a sort of light-hearted way. My favorite Yasha speech-making book, by the way, is Masonically Speaking. There's a lot of good advice there. A lot of that's about prep. A lot of that's about not making this sort of obvious mistakes, about thinking from the point of view of who you're giving the speech to and on behalf of. It's a lovely, beautiful little book, that. It really is.
Thank you.
But yes, of course, you also wrote many articles for QC, for Quattro Coronati.
Yes, that's an interesting exercise. Quattro Coronati is the premier research lodge worldwide. It's highly respected, and it's been publishing its transactions since 1885, I think. Volume number one.
Yes, I think that might be right. Let's have a look. But yes,
only certain only members who were qualified academically almost were allowed to become members. So membership of it was important. What it did, it brought a certain responsibility with it. Being a member of Quattro Coronati, to me, meant that I couldn't just write anything I liked. I needed to back it with knowledge, so to speak.
yes, it had to be well.
So joining or being invited, and it's by invitation only that you become a member of Quattro Coronati. So being invited to become a member and later master of the Quattro Coronati Lodge brought with it a book that was like Masonically Speaking, which, although it Masonically Speaking has got, I think, I can say there are actual jokes in it. It's intended to help a speaker with somebody who's talking to be able to find material available for which you can use. And
Yes, indeed.
Stories
Yes.
out there.
And then if people don't want to prepare things themselves, you see this thing that happens for those who are watching who aren't Freemasons. There's a thing, it's not proper Freemasonry if you don't catch the odd person out by asking them to do things without any preparation time. So you'll be suddenly sitting there and someone will say, will you give this toast or will you respond on behalf of this? You've also got that handbook, Freemason's Handbook of Speeches, Toasts and Responses. I think that's the right title.
That's the one that's sold best.
Yes, and the reason why people like that is it means that if someone does that, you can just go, yes, I can, and open it up, and you've got a choice of just ones you can read or just steal most of from. So that's why people like that one in particular, because it's a preparation against surprise speech requests.
I must say, Martin, that I owe a lot to you personally. And if I may make a public declaration, so to speak, on this occasion by saying thank you, because you saw opportunities and pushed me into publication. In fact, my best book, both academically and otherwise, is the Royal Arch one.
Yes. Well,
And that one, you really took a huge risk. We wrote it, within 6 months, 8 months, something like that.
That is actually my favorite Yasha book. And it's a real beauty, that one. So it's 200 years of Royal Arch Freemasonry in England. This was for the celebration, but it's a great guide to understanding the Royal Arch historically, and it's a pleasure, that one. I've got that on my own bookshelf, so that's my favorite.
This was really vision on your part to let me do it, because it's not known, and I didn't publish anywhere, and there isn't any in the introduction or something. Usually, if there's some background to a book, you can find it either in the introduction or somewhere in the book. But this one doesn't have the fact that there was quite a lot of opposition to us publishing it by the authorities.
So yeah, whenever there's a bigger possibility with a title, there's lots of people who'd like to write it but don't have time, and there's a lot of doing it, actually really doing it, is the important thing. And I think I thought it was a wonderful book, and it's quite intriguing because you did something quite creative with this. So this is, for people who haven't read the book, this has got it's an academic assessment. It's really well referenced. It's really a great research, but it has got a creative flair in there as well, which not everyone was expecting. Yasha, would you like to talk about the little letter? Yes.
Well, I thought to myself two things. With Martin, first of all, I told you that I wanted it to be hardbound, so that I knew it was a substantial book. And then when I wrote it, I thought there should be academic to some extent, but there should be something that is new, something that is unusual, something that's different. And also, I needed some words. I mean, I needed substance to make the book larger, to bring it to 200 pages. So what I came up with is the idea of having a theatrical story. There is a book called, I can't remember what the name of the book is, the one of the actual we're talking about
so yes, we're talking about the Royal Arch book.
Yes, I mean, but of the consecration, not the consecration of the Grand Lodge.
Yes. So there's actually a minute book or records of the.
Yes, there is a very, very nicely done record of it, and I use that book as a guide in order to interpret it as if it was a theatrical presentation.
Yes.
And I showed it to a few people who I respect as critics. I mean, other than yourself. But
yes,
everybody liked it, even though some people felt that it was inappropriate to include it as a book.
Yes.
In a book.
So there's some people that it's always like that when you try something new, and often they need to taste the new dish to know really what it's like. They don't like the idea of it before they saw it, then they read it and thought, actually, this is a very nice way to bring history to life.
I must use this occasion, and just in case anybody has looked at it, to mention that all the facts are actual evidence facts, and all the names are at least one of the names is the correct name. There are actual names of people that were used. The Duke of
Yes.
Sussex. It is on the about the Duke of Sussex Masonic history.
Yes, it's very Dan Brown approach, that, isn't it? It's maybe fiction, but all the names are right, all the facts.
Exactly,
all
all
the
the things. That's right.
Yes, it's what would happen there. And I think the only book we haven't mentioned. Oh no, we've got a few. You did a Masonic Guide to London with us, didn't you?
Yes,
And that was because it used to be a tour guide of a sense, weren't you?
that was the City of London.
Yes, the City of London. So
yes, when I was made the master of the livery company of the City of London, I felt duty bound to become a bit more knowledgeable about what the city was all about. And the best way to do that for me at that time was through becoming a guide. So what I did, I qualified as a City of London guide, it was a year's course.
I can hear the spirit of Leo Zanelli approving.
Oh, Leo Zanelli.
Yes, whenever he got interested in something, he'd end up writing a book on it in the end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He did something like 30 or 35 books published, I think, before.
Wonderful man. I loved Leo.
All the names are correct, and all the facts, all the events that took place, all the degrees that he took,
yes,
are all factual. And
absolutely.
It's a fascinating field. I found out, and I sourced. There is a source that the Duke of Sussex actually conducted the whole of the ritual of the first degree in Hebrew in open lodge.
In Hebrew.
In Hebrew, he was fluent in Hebrew.
But that's interesting. So why would he choose to do it in Hebrew? That's very.
Well, he was a linguist anyway, and Hebrew was an intriguing language as far as he was concerned.
Well, we do see. Sorry, after you. Sorry, you.
No, go on. That's fine.
We see a lot of respect for. There's an idea, not just in Freemasonry, but within the sort of gentlemen of that time, that Hebrew is the original language. It's the first language. Man made up all the other ones, but that's actually the one that divinity inspired. So you do get that, and a lot of these early figures, they write their names in Hebrew or do bits and bobs in Pidgin Hebrew. So it's part of their spirituality at the time.
Spirituality and sort of the respect that antiquity has.
Yes.
I agree.
And at one point, I think we were even talking, you and I, about a Masonic guide to Israel or something like that, weren't we? But
that was because I was taking Holy Land trips.
Yeah, of the Holy Land. That was it. That was how we were going to phrase it.
Yes.
Yes. To go with the sort of the London one. Yes. So I think that's a project.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I took 10 trips of my Masons from England to Israel for Holy Land, Masonic tours of the Holy Land.
Oh, how wonderful.
These were absolutely wonderful meetings, because I had contacts in Israel. I was a member of the Grand Lodge of Israel, the State of Israel. And we went to, the Grand Master used to welcome us. We went to Masonic meetings. We had a fantastic local guide who was very, very knowledgeable. And the trips were always small groups of anything between, the largest group, we had a group of Italian Freemasons. Of 25 of us. We spent New Year in Israel. We had Christmas at home, and then we went to Israel for the New Year.
Wonderful.
So we started off with a party, which was very, very successful.
Yes. I've got some friends I correspond with there, and I was rather hoping to visit them, but it's not a good time now.
It's never a good time. We had to cancel. We canceled one meeting one trip, but otherwise we went annually, irrespective. It was you have to commit yourself the same way as I'm committing myself to this talks with you just now.
Yes.
You have to say I'm going to do it no matter what, and just go ahead with it.
I don't know if we can even fly out at the moment, but yes, I hear what you're saying. And do you think you will visit Israel again? Do you think you'll pop back?
I don't think I will travel again. It's very difficult for me to. I find it very difficult to this question of noise. No, I don't think so. What I would like to do, I've got a few people who I introduced to Freemasonry who are likely to be going through the chair.
Okay.
And I'd like to get to be present at their installation meeting.
Wonderful.
So if I can bring myself to, to walk.
So, Yasha, we only have 5 minutes left on our call here. So we started talking a little bit about how you are doing, how your symptoms are. And I think it's good to just record this. Tell me a little bit, how have things have changed since we last talked? You seem in good spirits.
Yes, I think, first of all, I've got a new man in my life.
Yes.
And this is Boudica.
Well, Boudica might be able to tell us more than you can about how your symptoms are changing. He's an outside objective observer.
Yes.
Yes. How's he been doing?
Actually, when you speak to him last time, you were in hospital or you came back from hospital?
Oh my word, yes, you did. You had my favorite message I got from Yasha from hospital was that every time he felt a bit better and stood up, he tried to get out fast enough because at his age, if you stay still, they'll find something else wrong with you.
Yeah, that's true.
I thought that was wonderful that, there's enough things falling apart that you need to pick up some speed so that no one with medical expertise can say, no, that organ's not working or that leg needs treatment. That was fun. Yeah, so you had a bout in hospital. Tell us about that. How did that come about?
Well, shall I? I think Boudica. It's very interesting to listen to Boudica, but we've only got a few minutes
Yes,
left.
I'd say so. We need the reductionist version, Boudica, but we can talk about it more next time. What was he diagnosed with? What took him to hospital?
What was the problem, Yasha?
The problem was some stomach problem. I've got
digestive issues.
I got a blocked intestine.
Oh my word! Okay.
And basically, with old age and with Parkinson's, your intestines become loose and they tend to move freely and sometimes overlap, and that's this blockage.
Crikey, right.
And but they managed to straighten it out. But it's not mended. It's just something that is not. If it doesn't overlap, then there's no problem. It just.
Yeah, so you've got mixed up. Your pipes have kinked around each other a bit, and they've got to undo it a bit.
Exactly. Exactly. So.
Right. Well, Yasha, so after you.
Sorry, no, I was very lucky. I had I had a single room to myself, and very, very pretty nurses.
Well, that's a very important part of recovery.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah, it's give you some reason to get up and get moving.
Are you doing well?
So we're on our 3-minute mark, and this is a really important subject. I don't want to go in too much and suddenly cut off. So we'll talk a little bit about the knock-on effects next time. So we've got old age, you've got Parkinson's, and then you've got all these things that are happening as a result of it. One of which is quite a dramatic thing. Most people aren't worrying about whether their intestines are going to twist around each other. It sounds very painful. We'll talk about that a bit next time.
Okay.
But yes, in the meantime, you have a lovely celebration tomorrow, and
Thank you.
we'll book in our next time to
Tell
talk.
me that you're doing well.
I'm doing wonderfully. Yes, all's going well in our life. It really is a dream come true. This marriage is a superb thing.
She's working hard for you, Kitty.
Yeah, and vice versa. Yes, we're just getting ready to move house into a property nearer to our business to Lewis Masonic, and a lot more space for my pet cat to run around. And
But you're not moving to Italy.
no, but we have got a place we visit in Italy, and I am in love with Italy. But I'm in love with Sri Lanka as well. So I everywhere I go, I think this is amazing. I want to be here, and can just say, no, you're on holiday. That's what's happening.
Yes, that's
Yes,
true.
I love difference. So
It's easy to love Italy. I think I feel the same
oh,
way you do.
certainly. Well, we'll talk about your Italian involvements next time. All right, everyone. Lovely to see you both. We're coming
Thank
to
you.
the end of our
Thank
interview here, and I'll let you both get on. As
you.
always,
Thank you for the time.
it's been an honor.
Nice to see you.